Joel Godet from the NE10. We are on campus here in Waltham with new Bentley head football coach CJ Scarpa. Coach, first off, congratulations on the gig. Excited for your first season here. What are the jitters like? You've got camp coming up. You've got your first game as a head coach coming up in about a month. Yep. You've got to be gears churning in your mind a little bit.
Yeah, we're ready to go. I think, one of the most important things to do as a head coach, as I've learned, is surround yourself with great people. I think we've hired a really great staff here. And really at the end of the day, it's about the players. We think we have some unbelievable football players, but unbelievable, young men. We're going to rely heavily on them, and it's a player's game. So as long as they're ready to go, we'll be ready to go.
You were obviously on staff here for the last couple of years. When this job came open, how quickly an application was that for you, and what was the thought process? Like, did you have any doubts, curiosities? Who did you consult with?
Yeah, I think, as soon as it opened, well, I kind of knew from, Coach the Car, he had told me he was going to take the job over at Davidson. And then Vaughn Williams, our athletic director, he's been super supportive. The whole administration really was super supportive. He asked me if I wanted to become the interim. I said absolutely, and then from there you kind of just put your best foot forward each and every day, and I attacked each day as I was the head football coach, because at the time you had the interim title, and I think the only way you really make anything of it is if you act, you got to act that way, and I think that's the way we took it.
How do you become a head coach? Like, what are the things that you've had to get acclimated to, adjustments you've had to make? What have been the biggest learning curves?
Yeah, I would say sort of the biggest learning curve for me, and I knew it a little bit, was more so you got to do a lot of behind the scenes work in terms of you got to do operations, you got to do equipment at this level, you got to do budgeting, so that was relatively new to me. And then football kind of takes a little bit of, a sideshow for a little bit, but that's why we got to rely on our staff who, like I said, I think we got an unbelievable staff here. You give them the tools, you give them really some parameters to work with, and then you kind of let them run with it, and you do some other stuff behind the scenes. But I'd say that's kind of been the biggest learning curve, but really rely on the people, in this organization. Really excited about them.
Best piece of head coaching advice or coaching advice you've gotten that's been most applicable to this process?
Yeah, so I would fall back on this one. I learned this one from Coach Jones, Butch Jones over at Arkansas State. You got to be able to adapt and adjust. If you can adapt and adjust, you'll be in pretty good shape. Like, you want to be organized, but not so much so that you're disorganized. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but like that's kind of been, kind of the biggest thing for me, being able to have a plan, but if there's one little hitch in the plan, like, you got to be able to maneuver a little bit and still have that thing churn.
I know we're a ways out. Do you know what the first play you're going to call is? Like, have you been sitting on this thing that says, like, when I'm a head coach, we're doing this?
I originally said fullback dive, but I'll probably come back on that one. I'm not too sure. We'll address that with the staff, but we got some ideas.
How do you shape your philosophy? Because everybody, when you're an assistant, it's one thing. When you're a head coach, now it's your choice. How did you decide what you want this team to look like, how you want to play, and stylistically how you implement that?
Yeah, so I think one of the great things, about having been here the past couple of years is you kind of know what you have in your roster. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing as a coach, because you could be really set on one way, but if your players can't, adapt to that, if your players can't do it as a coach, you shouldn't ask them to do it that way. So I think having, that experience under, my belt with being here the past 2 years and kind of knowing who the guys are, building those relationships with them, that's really, helped and, guided me to how we want to shape this.
CJ, congratulations on the job. Looking forward to the season.
Thank you very much, Joel.
CJ Scarpa from Bentley.